Sandra Mitchell's 60th birthday gala was flawless until the ballroom doors swung open. A woman stepped through, a child at her side, backlit like a specter. The click of her heels silenced the room. Heads turned. Sandra's champagne flute trembled in her grip as her smile cracked. The crystal slipped. It spun through the air, catching the chandelier light. It shattered on the marble with a sound that pierced the music. The woman walked forward, unflinching, her son's small hand steady in hers. Sandra's lips moved, but no sound came. She was staring at a ghost. The champagne hadn't even soaked the floor before Sandra realized the dead had returned. But the worst crime wasn't the lie. It was the money she'd stolen for a child who never existed. 8 years earlier, Emma was 26 when she walked into her mother's kitchen with a secret that would rip their world apart.
Mom, I'm pregnant. Pregnant? By that Lebanese engineer? You're throwing your life away.
His name is Anthony, and I'm keeping this baby.
You'll get rid of it, or you'll wish you'd never been born.
She wasn't asking. She was commanding, as if my body was hers to control. Then I'll wish I'd never been born, because I'm not murdering my child for your approval.
Then you're dead to me. Walk out that door and you cease to exist in this family.
Emma walked out, but she didn't know her mother's words were not a threat. They were a plan already forming. Emma had no idea that the words "dead to me" were only the first act of her mother's revenge. 3 days after the argument, Emma's phone exploded with dozens of notifications, all linking to a Facebook post. With heavy hearts, we announced the tragic passing of our daughter Emma in a single-car accident on I-95.
She killed me. She actually told the world I'm dead.
Before she could process, her cousin called, asking about the funeral arrangements.
I'm not dead, Janet. It's a lie, my mother's lie.
But the calls kept coming. Every relative had already believed the post.
If they all think I'm dead, then maybe I should let them. There's nothing left here.
That night, she packed a single suitcase and walked out of the only home she'd ever known. She deleted her social media, changed her number, and became a ghost to the family that had buried her. Emma had no plan, no money, and a baby on the way, but she had her life, and she was determined to live it. 6 months later, Emma married Anthony at a courthouse with no family in the pews.
He never treated me like damaged goods. He saw a woman worth building a future with.
When Lucas was born, Emma held him and wept. Not from pain, but from a love so fierce it erased years of hurt.
Hello, Lucas. You're the reason I survived.
The years that followed were simple. A small apartment, shared meals, and bedtime stories.
He's got your stubborn chin, Em, and your habit of never listening.
At least he inherited your calm eyes. Thank God for that.
But even in the quiet moments, the ghost of her mother's lies sometimes crept into Emma's thoughts.
She'd rather have a dead daughter than one who chose love over control.
8 years passed. Emma never expected to hear from her family again until an invitation arrived. The envelope was cream-colored, thick as a wedding invitation, with no return address. The family of Sandra Mitchell cordially invites you to a celebration of her 60th birthday.
The family. She still sends invitations to a family that she told the world I died from.
How did she even get our address?
Aunt Susan forwarded it. She's the only one who stayed in touch, secretly.
You're not thinking of going after what she did.
If I stay quiet, I let her define my existence. 8 years of being dead is long enough.
She called Aunt Susan, who confirmed the details but warned her, Sandra still pretends the accident was real.
Then it's time she saw me. I'm taking Lucas to meet his grandmother.
Then we go as a family. I'll be right beside you.
The day arrived. Emma packed their overnight bag with a strange, quiet precision.
I'm about to walk into a room full of people who mourned me. And I'm bringing my son.
Mommy, who's gonna be at the party?
Some people Mommy used to know. There's a lady named Sandra. She's your grandmother.
Anthony appeared in the mirror's reflection, his hand resting on her shoulder. No words, just a steady presence. The highway blurred past as dusk fell. Emma kept her eyes on the road, Lucas dozing in the back. The hotel rose like a glass monument, guests in glittering attire streaming through the entrance. Inside, the marble floors echoed their footsteps. Emma tightened her grip on Lucas's hand. They stopped before the double doors. The muffled sound of laughter and clinking glasses seeped through.
8 years. Let this be the end of it.
Emma pressed her weight against the door. It swung open with a low creak. The ballroom was a sea of silk and glitter. All heads turned toward a stage where Sandra Mitchell raised a flute. A waiter near the entrance dropped a tray of hors d'oeuvres. The crash turned every eye. In the sudden silence, only the sound of their footsteps on marble.
No, it can't be. This isn't real.
Look at me, Mother. I'm still here.
Sandra's speech faltered mid-sentence. Her hand holding the microphone began to shake.
Mommy, that lady looks scared. And everyone's staring.
Emma didn't answer. She just kept walking, her eyes locked on the woman who had erased her. For 8 years, that woman had told the world she was dead. Now, the lie shattered without a single word. It started with a tremble in Sandra's fingers, the champagne slipping free before she could tighten her grip. The flute tumbled end over end, a streak of crystal in the chandelier light. It struck the marble with a sound that sliced through the music, glass exploding outward like a scream.
This isn't real. She's dead. I made sure she was dead.
Look at me. See the life you couldn't erase.
Emma stepped over the shards without looking down, her stride unwavering. The crowd parted, whispers rising like rustling leaves. Is that her? It can't be.
Mommy, why are they all so quiet now?
Emma kept her silence, her eyes never leaving Sandra's ashen face. The room held its breath, every guest frozen between disbelief and the impossible truth standing before them. Sandra's shock twisted into performance. She forced a smile, her voice trembling with rehearsed joy.
My baby, you're alive, everyone. It's a miracle. My daughter has returned from the dead.
She rushed down from the stage, arms open, but Emma raised her palm like a stop sign, and the world paused.
No.
That single syllable hung in the air, heavier than any scream. Sandra's feet locked to the marble.
She was supposed to stay gone. How dare she stand there with that child?
Before Sandra could recover, a figure stepped from the crowd. Aunt Susan, her expression carved from years of silent guilt.
Mommy, why is that lady trying to hug you? Are you friends?
No, baby. We were never friends. She made sure of that the day she told the world I was dead.
The ballroom became a tomb of held breath, every guest waiting for the next crack in the facade. But Emma's entrance wasn't just a family secret exposed. It was a federal crime unfolding in real time. 6 years ago, Sandra walked into this office with a forged birth certificate and a lie that would pay for everything. Survivor benefits claim for Hope Mitchell, deceased minor daughter of Emma Mitchell. Single car accident I-95. She invented a second child, a girl named Hope, and killed her on the same fake accident report. For years, the checks arrived. Monthly deposits meant for a grieving grandmother, but funding champagne and renovations. $93,000 stolen over 6 years from a fund for children who had truly lost a parent. She forged documents, lied under oath, and traded on a death that never happened twice. And it all depended on one fact: that Emma was dead and couldn't walk through a door and prove otherwise. But Emma had walked through, and now the truth was unraveling years of criminal theft with every breath the room held. The woman on stage wasn't just a liar. She was a thief who had sold her daughter's death for a monthly check. Months before the party, Aunt Susan found a Social Security statement in Sandra's mail, a survivor benefits notice for a child she'd never heard of.
Hope Mitchell? Emma only had Lucas. There was no second child.
She pulled months of bank records, horrified by the repeated deposits. The numbers clawed at her conscience.
$93,000. She's been stealing from a dead grandchild that never existed.
That night, she called the SSA fraud hotline. Her voice shook, but her words were steel.
I need to report a fraudulent survivor benefits claim. The child never existed.
Within weeks, an investigation opened. Agent Charles led the case, gathering evidence in silence. The plan was set. Sandra's 60th birthday would be the stage for her confession. Undercover agents were already inside. As Emma and Lucas walked through the ballroom doors, Charles lifted his glass in a silent toast to justice. Sandra had no idea that the real party crashers weren't her daughter and grandson. They were the federal agents waiting for her next move. Sandra fled back to the stage, her voice trembling as she lifted a new champagne flute from a passing waiter.
My daughter is alive. This is God's grace, a resurrection. Let's toast to second chances.
The crowd hesitated, some raising their glasses, others frozen with confusion.
Toast? She toasts to me? As if I'm a prop in her twisted play.
To Emma, my precious, lost and found angel.
But the room's applause was scattered, uneasy. Whispers crawled like insects.
Mommy, why is that lady crying if she's happy?
Because she's not really happy, baby. She's just pretending.
Sandra's smile cracked at the edges, tears of panic mixing with her forced joy. Somewhere in the crowd, a man in a dark suit set his glass down very carefully, his hand pausing near his jacket. Aunt Susan stepped forward, her voice cutting through the murmurs like a blade.
I should have spoken sooner. Sandra, you didn't just exile your daughter. You stole from the government survivor benefits for a child that never existed.
Sandra's champagne flute crashed to the floor again, shattering the illusion she'd tried to rebuild.
You're insane. This is a birthday party, how dare you?
But Agent Charles was already moving, his hand emerging from his jacket with a badge and a warrant.
Sandra Mitchell, you're under investigation for fraud against the Social Security Administration. This is not a party. It's the end of your lies.
Guests gasped, phones flew up, and the ballroom transformed into a courtroom of public opinion.
She built a fortune on a ghost. Now the walls are crumbling.
Emma stood still, her son's hand in hers, while federal agents in plain clothes emerged from the crowd to surround the stage. This was no longer a family reunion. It was an arrest in slow motion. Agent Charles opened a slim leather folder, revealing a stack of printed evidence, bank statements, false applications, and a neat timeline of theft.
Sandra Mitchell, these documents detail a 6-year fraud. You collected $93,000 for a granddaughter who never existed.
No, those records are wrong. Someone's framing me.
But her voice fractured, and every guest could see the lie crumbling behind her eyes. Phones rose like a wave, screens glowing, capturing every tear and every lie.
This is all her fault, that ungrateful girl and her.
That's enough. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Sandra's knees buckled. 2 agents caught her, and for the first time in 60 years, she had nothing left to control. The ballroom, once filled with champagne and celebration, had become a courtroom. Emma didn't move. She just tightened her grip on Lucas's hand and watched the empire of lies collapse. As the agents led Sandra toward the service door, she tore her arm free for one moment, mascara streaking like black rain.
Emma, you owe me, I'm your mother. Tell them it's a lie.
Emma didn't turn. She fixed her eyes on the exit, and the silence from her back was the loudest sound in the room.
You gave me life, then tried to erase it. You don't get to call in debts.
Lucas tugged her sleeve, his small voice cutting through the chaos.
Mommy, is that lady going to jail? Like in my shows?
Yes, baby, she broke the rules, and now she has to be accountable.
She spoke as if she were explaining gravity, the law, things that simply were. Rising, she took Lucas's hand and faced the ballroom doors that had once framed her as a ghost. They walked out, not as a specter and her son, but as a mother who had reclaimed her name. The heavy doors hadn't quite closed behind them when Lucas glanced back, his small fingers still wrapped around Emma's.
Mommy, who's that lady crying? The one with the sparkly dress.
Nobody important, baby.
She said it without pausing, without looking back, as if the answer cost her nothing. But those 3 words were the final nail in a coffin 8 years in the making. Behind them, the ballroom fell into a stunned silence, the weight of what had happened pressing down on every guest. Emma walked on, her heels echoing on the marble, each step erasing the ghost she had been. Lucas, satisfied, tightened his grip and matched her stride. By the time they reached the lobby, Sandra Mitchell was already a memory. And the woman who once erased her daughter was the one being erased. The lobby was nearly empty, a world away from the ballroom's shattered glass. Emma pushed through the revolving door without a backward glance. Outside, the night air was cool on her skin, a welcome relief after the suffocating perfume and panic. She buckled Lucas into his car seat, his eyelids already heavy from the long day.
Mommy? The lady with the sparkles was really loud.
I know, baby, but we don't have to hear her anymore.
She slid into the driver's seat and gripped the wheel, letting out a breath she felt she'd been holding for 8 years. In the rearview mirror, her own eyes stared back, older, steadier, alive. The highway stretched ahead, a ribbon of streetlights guiding them home.
For the first time in years, my mind is quiet. I walked in a ghost and walked out a mother.
There was no funeral for her myth tonight, only a drive toward a life that was wholly her own. Morning light spilled across the kitchen as Anthony flipped pancakes, the scent of batter filling the house.
Eat up, champ. Pancakes won't flip themselves into your mouth.
I want syrup in the shape of a dinosaur.
Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her robe, watching the two of them like a woman who had walked through fire and found her home. She crossed to a small wooden box on the shelf and placed the cream invitation inside, closing the lid without ceremony.
It's just paper now. No power, no ghost.
Coffee's ready, strong, just how you like it.
Perfect. You always know.
Mommy, come see my pancake T-Rex.
And in that ordinary Saturday morning, the woman once declared dead sat down to breakfast with her family, fully alive. Later that afternoon, Emma walked along a winding park path with Lucas, the autumn leaves glowing in golden light.
I was never dead. I was just waiting to live like this.
She had faced the woman who tried to erase her and had simply walked away. No drama, no revenge, just the quiet act of continuing.
Mommy, can we get ice cream after the park?
Of course, baby. Whatever you want.
The simplest moments now held the most weight. A child's request, a mother's yes. They were the building blocks of a life no lie could steal. The path ahead stretched into light, and the shadows of the past were just that, shadows, harmless without substance. Emma had no grave, no funeral. She was too busy living. And that was the greatest revenge, not a word spoken, but a life fully claimed. That evening, Emma dialed a number she hadn't needed in years, but one she'd never forgotten. Aunt Susan picked up on the first ring, as if she'd been waiting.
Hi, Aunt Susan. It's me. I just wanted to say thank you. For everything.
Oh, sweetheart. I should have done more years ago. You deserved so much better.
You did enough. You gave me a chance to stand on my own. That's more than she ever did.
You're a good mother, Emma. Your grandparents would be so proud.
I hope so. You're welcome to visit any time. Lucas would love to meet his great-aunt properly.
I'd like that. Very much.
As Emma hung up, she looked out at the settling dusk, no longer a ghost in anyone's story, least of all her own. Family, she realized, wasn't the blood you're given. It's the people who show up when the world says you never existed. Dusk settled gently over the house, the kind of quiet evening that asks nothing of you but to breathe. Through the window, the silhouette of a woman moved. Not a specter, not a memory, just a mother putting away dishes. A small boy darted past her, chasing a toy car, his laughter muffled but unmistakable. Emma had walked into a room full of lies and walked out with the truth. She had reclaimed her name, her son, her life. What was there left to say? Nothing. No dramatic closure, no final jab at the woman who wronged her. Her victory was not a confrontation. It was the quiet, unassailable fact of her existence. The world that believed she was dead would learn otherwise. But Emma was no longer holding her breath for anyone's approval. In the end, Sandra Mitchell became what she always feared: irrelevant. A faded photograph in a box no one would open. While Emma, back in her kitchen, poured herself another cup of coffee and listened to her family fill the house with life. And somewhere in the silent halls of justice, papers were being filed, but for Emma, the case was already closed. And so, the woman who was once declared dead simply continued to live. No grand gestures, no revenge, just the quiet hum of a life fully reclaimed. She didn't need to burn anything down. She had already built herself a home. If this story stirred something in you, anger, hope, or the quiet pride of survival, then it did its job. Hit subscribe and ring the bell for more tales where the truth wins. Your support makes these stories possible. Drop a comment below. Tell me the name of someone you refuse to let go of. And if you know someone fighting to be seen, share this with them. You never know who needs to hear it. Remember, no one can write your ending except you. She walked out of that ballroom a ghost, and into her life a mother. Now it's your turn. Go write a life so loud no lie can drown it out. Until next time.